In the book, you talk about the Moab 240, this 240-mile race in Utah. You talk about this elevation gain of over 31,000 feet. You're 200 miles or so into the race. And I believe this was in 2020. But there was a time where I think you describe it. You went in porta potty or something. David went in, Goggins came out. If you could speak to that.
Yeah, man. So like I said, nothing's permanent. Nothing's permanent. That's why I'm always big on you have to keep what you want to be in the front of your mind. Because you're going to always lose it within the suffering. And suffering, people always hear me say suffering. It's not just physical, man. There's so many forms of suffering out here, it's not even funny. And most of them are not physical. Most of them are psychological. So I'm going through this race. I get to mile 200 of my second Moab. And I'm doing well, but I'm in extreme pain, man. My fucking ass is raw. My damn feet are broken. I have 6 layers of tape on my, it's just, I'm jacked, man. I have 40 miles to go. I'm having this woe is me. Why the fuck am I out here? I'm at high elevation. I can't breathe real well. Everything's wrong. So I'm with my pacer. His name is Mike. And I see this porta potty of sorts. And I'm like, I just need to get off the fucking course. So I lie to Mike. I'm like, hey man, I gotta go to the bathroom. And I go in this outdoor house. So there's a bathroom in it. So I went in there and I'm in there and I'm thinking, I'm like, God, man, I just wish I would fall into this fucking toilet. You know how like big sinkholes? I just wish I fall in there, man, and maybe I'll break my leg or maybe something would happen where I can't finish the race. And as I'm talking to myself like this, out of nowhere, Goggins appears in my mind. He's like, man, are you really fucking talking like this, bro? Imagine if you were to fucking be able to have people hear your dialogue right now, man. You came out here in 2019 and this course kicked your ass. And all you wanted to do was come back here. You trained on fucked up knees. You put so many miles in. You visualized all this. You've run this course 1,000,000 times. And now you're in a fucking porta potty like a little fucking bitch, whining and crying to yourself, lying to your pacer that you got a shit. So basically, what happened was Goggins got a hold of me and knifed David Goggins and stuck him in that porta potty, and Goggins came out. And when Goggins came out with 40 miles to go of a 240-mile run, it was the most epic ending of any race I can remember. That last 40 miles was something that I can't even describe. But what I will tell you is, once again, it shows you what the determined mind can do. There's no David Goggins. There's just David fucking Goggins. And that's what people don't get, man. David Goggins just changed his fucking mindset in that porta potty. My feet still hurt. My back was still aching. The pack was still heavy. Everything was the same. The only thing that changed was how I approached the situation. I no longer wanted to be a victim of that race, a victim in my mind. I wanted to dominate when most people would refuse to dominate. I wanted to dominate under the most harsh environment. And that's what happened.
And your pacer, Mike, I mean, you describe him as a fellow savage. What was his response to this when he saw you come out?
Well, you know, he was used to me for about a period of an hour and a half, 2 hours, just being like a little punk. I would walk, I would run, I would kind of lean over. When I came out, he didn't know the David Goggins thing. I hadn't talked to him about that. There's another person that lies deep within inside me. So when I started running, he couldn't believe that I started dropping my pacer. Think about this. I'm 200 miles in. No sleep breaks, fucked up ankle, and he knows I'm jacked up. And this guy who has run, I think about 60, 70 miles with me at the time, he knows I'm 200 miles into this. When you start dropping a guy, and he knows he's a savage, he's run several ultra races, he knows how broke a man is at 200 miles. I'm throwing down 7-minute miles, man, and I'm leaving him. I know what he's thinking about because I know he's a savage. And I know what I'm trying to do to Mike. I'm using Mike as the ultimate ammunition because two savages. And one savage knows that the other savage has gone 200 miles. I'm fucking with this guy now. I'm using him as fuel. I'm using his anger, his hate. He's mad at me now. He's mad at himself. I'm using it. This is my boy, but I'm using him. I'm dragging that shit. I want him to be mad at me so he can bring the best out of me. And that's what happens. He's mad. So we get down to the end of this fucking hill, big descent down. And he's like, he gets on the phone. He calls his wife. He calls my fucking girl, Jennifer. He's losing his shit. Like, what the fuck? He's like, this guy just fucking dropped me. He's literally out of his mind. He can't believe what he saw. And then from then on, man, the next probably 15 miles or so before the next checkpoint, the real race was gone. Even though it was still going on, it was me and Mike. And there was two guys out there barely talking, just going at it. And that's what I wanted. And that's what Mike was thinking. He never told me really what he was thinking. He showed me, how the fuck are you able to do this? And I pissed him off. And it was beautiful.
It's like when you see someone do something, it means more than when someone tells you something. And I know in Can't Hurt Me, you talk about the concept of taking souls. And I'm not sure you were trying to take Mike's soul in that moment, but if you could describe what that concept means.
It's kind of like that. So the basic of taking souls is when the normal human being, being in the situation that you're in, would be defeated. And the person or people with you know that in that situation, a normal human being would be defeated in that situation. And you rise above the normal human being. So it makes all the people around you feel lesser than. Therefore, you own a part of their soul. Because in that moment, and I got it from going through Navy SEAL training, I watched all those Navy SEAL instructors who had gone through Hell Week, and now they're putting me in my class through Hell Week. I'm watching all of them because they all know at Wednesday we're all defeated. Everybody's fucked up on Wednesday. And it's Wednesday. But I got the information. I know where you were on Wednesday. And I know what you're thinking. I should be at Wednesday. I should be as fucked up as you are. I'm not going to give you that. I'm going to show you what Wednesday is for me. Wednesday for me is not Wednesday for you. And so when I did that, I saw the instructors' faces when I was strong as fuck. I was at hour 80, 90 of Hell Week. I was like at minute 1. It was like Hell Week had just started. So why you take someone's soul, because they don't know how you're able to do this at that state of mind, that state of being, and that kind of cold and misery, but you find more when no one else can. A smart human being will see that and you will elevate them. And that's what I did to my boat crew. My boat crew was fucked up, but they saw my elevation. So they said, fuck, if this guy can do what one man can do, another can do. So they elevated themselves. But as my boat crew elevated, I saw that everybody else was like, what the fuck is going on? And so we used all of that ammunition, all those sad, long faces, all of that like questioning, what the fuck? And we used it for even more ammunition. So taking souls is when you put yourself in an environment that most people won't succeed in, and you thrive in that environment.
Now, it's interesting because I think one person could see all this and see you in action and feel inspired. And then there's a whole other set of people that kind of have the opposite effect, in the sense that, you know, in the book you talk about sometimes people feel uncomfortable around you because they feel judged, which is not true. You're not judging them, but really they're judging themselves.
I'll tell you the truth, man. I was a fucked up person. I had a lot of problems. But I'm going to give credit where credit's due. When you work as hard as I do, and people don't want to believe it, but they know it's true. They know it's true. It's how I talk. It's how I look. It's a look in a person's eye. You know this motherfucker ain't bullshitting you. So you can think I'm lying all you want, but in the back of your mind, you fucking know this guy's the real deal. So when I get around you, I'm like a fucking lie detector. I'm not calling you out. I'm not saying a word, but the second you start to get close to me, like those metal detectors, you get that metal detector on the beach, you find that watch in the sand. That's what I am with people, man. They get around me and they know what they're not doing. They know how hard they're not trying. And I bring out the worst in them because they know that, God, man, they start to judge themselves without me even saying a word. They start to go through their own resume of life and start realizing I'm not doing enough. I haven't done enough. And what that does in turn is it makes them very angry at me or whoever is working hard. Whoever that hardworking person is that they get around, they're immediately not going to like you because they know that you're working hard for everything you have and they just refuse to do that. So the only thing best to do is run their fucking mouths and talk shit about it.
People always talk about they've got naysayers and critics and haters and so on. But look, you can look at any of the videos you post online. Just look in the comments. They're all there. And you talk about a strategy that you've used to actually turn this into energy, the haters mixtape. What is the haters mixtape?
So basically, when I was younger, things used to bother me. Hate bothers everybody. People want to say it doesn't bother them, but it does. When someone wants to get on there and talk about you in a way that's not truthful, or just talk shit about you in whatever way, they want to. I started realizing, so I'm always about studying the mind. But most of my studying, it comes on studying my own mind, but studying other people's minds. So for the longest time, I was like, man, why are people talking so much shit? But once I started studying the mind of the weak, you'll never hear me talking about somebody else. You'll never hear a successful person talking negatively. They may give criticism, but it's criticism to help you get better. They'll never just go on and start, oh, this motherfucker, man, because we ain't got time for that shit. I ain't got time to go on your Instagram or your Twitter or your Facebook or your blog or anything and run my mouth about you. First of all, it shows I'm not a man. Second of all, it shows I'm just a bitch. So I started studying these motherfucking weak people these trolls, these shit talkers, these haters. I'm like, man, you're exactly where I was years ago. So the more I studied and the more I realized, man, the problem's not me. And this isn't the after school special, man. I'm not here to make you feel better. It's just the truth. You'll never meet a hater doing better than you, my friend. And that is the truth. So what I do is I take all of that shit and I get all the hate. I get my phone and I talk into it. What everybody said about me, I'll talk into it. So then I started having fun with it. I started putting beats to it, different tracks to it, Eminem soundtracks, whatever. Started putting it on a loop. And next, before I know it, man, I'm like, damn, this shit's kind of fucking badass. Who the fuck gets their haters' content that are talking about yourself? And I listen to it. And before I know it, it becomes the ultimate fuel. Even though I'm not listening to their shit that way, it just gives me a spark on those days when I'm like, I want these motherfuckers to hate me even more. The haters follow you like a motherfucker. They know more about you than your mama knows about you. They get all your books. They get all your podcasts. They get all your social media. They know where you live. They know where you sleep. They know everything about you. Me knowing that, I'm going to let you know about this too, my friend. I'm going to give you some more fuel to hate on me, man, for you to not like yourself even more. So that's where all that comes from.